If you are still running Google Ads the way you were a year ago or even 2 years ago, you're probably burning money and you don't even realize it yet. We've worked with over 150 e-commerce brands in the last couple of years, and I also run my own direct-to-consumer brand where we took Google Ads from barely breaking even to hitting it in over 4 ROAS. And what I can tell you just from being in the trenches every single day is that Google Ads is completely different these days than how it was just a few years ago. The way campaigns are built, managed, and optimized has fundamentally changed. And if you haven't adjusted, you're falling behind or you're paying a really big Google tax. And I'm gonna cover that today. I'm gonna go through the exact Google Ads strategy we use to scale e-commerce brands profitably right now. So let's get into it. The first thing you need to understand is that Google's AI is doing most of the heavy lifting for you. And that's actually a good thing if you know how to work with it. Just a couple years ago, you could still get away with manually managing keywords, setting individual bids, and just micromanaging every detail, logging in every day, every night, looking at your campaigns. But that era is now over. Why? Google rolled out the AI Max for search in 2025, which is basically a keywordless broad match system that finds high intent buyers on its own without you having to do some of the heavy lifting. On top of that, Performance Max has gone from this essentially mysterious black box to something you can actually see into and control. We finally have more transparency. They added campaign level negative keywords, channel performance reporting, demographic exclusions, and device targeting throughout 2025. So the landscape, it's shifted from this world where you control everything, you're scrutinizing every little campaign, to now you need to trust this amazing AI machine, feed the machine the right inputs, take the time to set it up the right way, and it will optimize it better than any human possibly could in real time, all the time. The other shift that we think about is how we measure success. For years, everyone really obsessed over ROAS, return on ad spend, as the main metric. And on the surface, that makes sense, right? We care about ROI. But the problem is you could have a 5 times ROAS, but that means nothing if your margins are thin. Your customer acquisition cost isn't sustainable, and you're not factoring in what it actually costs to fulfill on these orders. Really, it's a little short-sighted. We have to look at it as a business owner and understand profit, contribution margin. What do we focus on now is this idea of contribution margin and CAC payback period, meaning it's not about the revenue we make, but what is the gross profit on each order? Or if we're gonna break even or lose money, what is the payback period to get our money back after acquiring this new customer? Are we gonna be first purchase profitable, or we're okay with not being profitable till the second or third purchase? In other words, how much profit does each sale actually generate after all the cost? And how quickly does a new customer pay for themselves? This shift in thinking is what allowed us at Neat to scale profitably instead of just chasing after vanity metrics that look nice on a dashboard or talking to investors. Okay, now before we even think about pouring money into Google Ads and launching campaigns, you need to be really honest with whether you're even ready to scale on a very competitive paid channel like Google Ads. Because Google Ads can be an amazing amplifier. So if your product is solid and your average order value supports profitable acquisition and your website can convert cold traffic into new customers at scale, then it's really exciting. It can accelerate that. But if your conversion rate is low and your product doesn't have clear demand, unfortunately, pouring money into ads will just amplify those problems and help you lose money quickly. So you need to have a hard look at your numbers and your website before you start running ads. As well as this, your tracking infrastructure also needs to be dialed in before you spend anything meaningful on ads. Having a true source of data is everything for a lot of reasons. With all the privacy changes from iOS updates and new laws around cookies, you can't rely on basic pixel tracking anymore. So what you need to do is really embrace server-side tracking and make sure it's set up properly. GA4 configurations, they allow you to do enhanced conversions, and that can help you get clear attribution that you can actually trust. The reason this matters is because if Google's algorithm can't see your conversions accurately, it can't optimize toward them. Google is an amazing AI-powered machine, but you have to give it good data, give it good learnings, and your conversion events are the best signal, the best data for it to train on to help your ad account get optimized and scale profitably. And then there's a big question most brands skip. Can you actually afford to scale? Before scaling ads, ads, you need to understand your cash conversion cycle. How long does it take from the moment you spend $1 on ads to the moment that dollar comes back as profit? If you skip this step, you can end up in a spot where campaigns look great on the inside, revenue looks nice, but you have a problem. You can't restock, you can't buy more inventory, you can't reinvest in ads. And that's a really tough spot to be in when you're thinking through growth. And by the way, if you're running an e-commerce brand and you're dealing with exactly these kinds of challenges, your ads aren't profitable and you know they could be much better, or your conversion rate is stalling, or you just don't know what lever to pull next when trying to grow, that's exactly what we help with at Growth Hit. We've done this for over 150 brands. We do it for our own brand meet every single day. So if you want us to take a look at your situation and give a clear game plan, just click the first link in the description and book a call with our team. We'd love to chat, but let's get back to the video. Now, if you want my recommendation on where to start with Google Ads for e-commerce, it's absolutely Performance Max, and here's why. Performance Max runs across every Google channel: search, shopping, YouTube, display, Gmail, Discover, and even Map. So instead of managing 5 separate campaigns across 5 different channels, you're letting Google's AI allocate your budget to whoever it's converting the best, and it can be the most efficient. And the way you structure your asset groups inside your Performance Max matters a lot, but most brands get this wrong. The default approach is to group products by category: shirts in one group, pants in another, and so on. But what we do is structure asset groups by margin, not just by category. The reason is that Google's algorithm treats all conversions equal unless you tell it otherwise. So if you have a high margin product that's great for new customer acquisition and a low margin product in the same asset group with the same ROAS target, Google might drive all the spend toward that lower margin product. And so you're actually losing money, or you're not as profitable as you could be. But separating products into asset groups based on margin tiers, this allows you to look at your ROAS targets differently for each group. Your higher margin products can afford a lower return on ad spend because you make more profit per sale, while your lower margin products need a higher ROAS target just so you can stay profitable. There are also times when standard shopping campaigns still make sense, and you shouldn't ignore those. If you're liquidating inventory or testing brand new products where you don't have enough conversion data yet, or you want more granular control over specific product bids, standard shopping gives you that. Some experienced advertisers are actually finding that standard shopping is outperforming PMax. And this is in specific scenarios, obviously, especially when they have deep knowledge of their product category or their search behavior. For search campaigns, you should target branded defense and high intent, bottom of the funnel keywords only. Don't try to compete on brand, top of funnel search terms with a search category, because that's what PMax and demand generation are for. Your search campaigns should be catching people who are already searching for your brand name or for very specific high purchase intent queries. That's where you win with this strategy. Now, what a lot of e-commerce brands don't realize is that your creative assets are around 80% of the game. So Google's algorithm, it handles the bids, the targeting, the budget allocation. What it doesn't do as well as you right now is make compelling ads that tell your story. The quality of your product feed, your images, your video assets is what determines whether someone gets clicks or scrolls past. It used to be the smartest media buyer alone won, but now the brand with the best creative really can start to win because the algorithm levels the playing field on everything else. This is where you can stand out. So start with your product feed, because this is the foundation of everything in shopping and in Performance Max. Your product titles need to be written for search intent, not just for internal catalog purposes. Include the product type, key attributes like material or color, and your brand name. Think about what someone would actually type into Google when looking for your product. Are you using their language or your inside baseball language for your brand? Your product descriptions should highlight benefits, not just features. And your product images, they need variety. That means lifestyle shoots, e-commerce shots, close-up shots, scale references for your products, and images that show the product in different use cases. For Performance Max specifically, you need video assets, and I'd have to say at least 3 to 5 variations is non-negotiable at this point. So if you don't have video, this is what's going to happen. Google will auto-generate videos from your static images, and they almost always look below average. So they hurt your brand more than they help. The good news is that these don't have to be huge productions. These can be short form, 15 to 30 second videos showing the product in use. Even quick user-generated content style testimonials or simple benefit-driven clips with text overlays, all of those work, and they'll be better than the slideshows that Google creates. And you need to refresh your creative more often than you realize. So many times we get into Google ad accounts and it's been a year or 2 years with old logos and old assets. The audience gets tired of creatives the same way audiences do. If your click-through rates start declining, it's almost always a creative problem before it's a targeting or bidding problem. With Growth Hit and Neat, we try and look at it on a quarterly basis when we're updating things and do it every 4 to 6 months as a non-negotiable rule. When it comes to bidding, the 2 options you'll use the most are target ROAS and maximize conversions. Now, target ROAS is the right choice when you have a clear understanding of what ROAS you need to be profitable and you have enough conversion volume for Google to start to optimize towards that target. Google generally needs at least 50 conversions within 30 days to start to calibrate properly. Maximize conversions, now that's better if you're launching a new campaign, entering a new market, or just testing new products where you don't have enough data yet. It starts to give the algorithm freedom to learn what converts without being constrained by a ROAS target that might be unrealistic early on. You're kind of removing the handcuffs and prioritizing learning over profits, which is fine in the early days when you're trying to see if this can work. The mistake most brands make is starting with target ROAS on a brand new campaign, but the algorithm can't do it. It doesn't have enough data to hit that target, so it either barely spends your budget or it goes after easy, low value conversions that won't help with your long-term goal. So start with maximizing conversions, build up your data, and then switch to target ROAS when you have a realistic ballpark of what that number could be. And once you do that, you're going to start to see consistency and predictable revenue with your account, which is what is magical about Google compared to some other channels. Now, scaling your budget also requires the discipline. At Neat, we went from basically spending $50 per day to $500 per day on Google Ads, but we didn't do it overnight. The algorithm needs time to adjust to budget changes. If you double your budget in day one, you're almost certainly going to see your cost per acquisition spike and your ROAS tank. Play by the rules of Google, where you can start to get enough conversion events to validate growth, right? If you're hitting over 50 in every 30 days or 50 per week, you can start through scaling in different increments. At Neat, we started by increasing 25% every 3 to 5 days, depending on how much volume was going through the account, ideally wanting to track for 50 conversion events per week. And also don't forget about seasonality. Seasonal adjustments also matter more than most brands realize. Q4 is when competition spikes and CPCs rise across the board. So if you're not adjusting your ROAS targets and budgets ahead of Black Friday, you could be going after something that isn't realistic for your customer, or you could be doing something that impacts your goals. Now, if you're running an e-commerce brand and you're wanting to know if your Google ads could be performing better, but you're not exactly sure what to fix or what to focus on, that's what we do every day at Growth Hit. You can click the first link in the description to book a free call. We'll look at your entire growth system, from your ads to your conversion rate to your retention, all of it. And we'll tell you exactly which lever you could pull to have the biggest results in the shortest amount of time. So again, click the link below, and if you want to see the full breakdown of how we scaled Neat from $7,000 a month to over $108,000 per month, watch the next video and see the story of how we're building our own brand and scaling it ourselves.